And we're back for some talking hockey. We will continue to break down the Canadian division because that is the most relevant to us. And we've had plenty of storylines over the past week, leading off with the Montreal Canadiens. Tough loss to the Sens. Questionable goalie interference call that overturned a goal for them. Brendan Gallagher was unhappy. Next day, Claude Julien and his assistant fired as the Canadiens have continued to scuffle. They again lost last night to the Winnipeg Jets 6-3. They had a 3-1 lead. Fourth straight loss, and it's looking tough right now for the Canadiens, who, although are struggling, they've still got the Flames, Canucks, and Senators below them, so they still have a really good shot at making the playoffs. But yeah, tough week for them.
Yeah, hopes were so high in Montreal with the upset over the Penguins just as a boost of confidence. Bergevin goes out, makes moves, and early into the season, it was looking like he made all the right moves, and then it's not really clear what's changed since then. Just started sliding, and the coaching change is just a hope for a reset. Like, let's get a new mind in there, someone else picking which guys to put out in which situations. You're not going to change the team system overnight. Dom brings a really impressive winning record in with his minor league background and some medals at the World Juniors. So just bring a different accredited coach in, a different mind, get the players like a new person to talk to. You had Shea Weber making some comments about a bit of like bad vibes or energy in the locker room. So maybe a little similar to the Babcock situation, but all the more tougher when you had that early success and you're not sure what's going wrong. Price, bit of a fall from grace no one's mentioning him anymore in the best goaltenders in the league conversation, and it's been that way for some time now. And I I don't really know what you can do about that situation other than hope he finds mid-season, end of season form. Um, Leafs fans no stranger to having to wait a little on the starter to get going, but yeah, you kind of hope that for a turnaround or some new momentum after that coach firing and the Jets game, not a vote of confidence. But like you said, you've got two struggling teams below you. We'll get to the third later in this segment. So the playoff hopes are certainly not dashed, but I don't know what the Canadiens have to figure out.
Yeah. Luckily they have Jake Allen, who is a very solid 1B, who you could run with for a bit if he gets hot. I think with Carey Price, the thing with the Canadiens, and this might actually be to their detriment, is that it's always lurking that he has the potential to go on a crazy, unbeatable run, and he has earned that benefit of the doubt to be the number one guy. But if he is just having a off stretch, then you should run with your other goalie, but you can't because it's Carey Price. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the goalies. Maybe he just does need a bit of a quick rest to refresh, and then he'll be back. But again, like, it's Carey Price. At some point, he could just turn it on, and then teams don't score on him for like 5 games in a row. So something to follow. And they do need a little bit of new energy to come at some point. So something to follow. Another team that struggled, obviously, is the Vancouver Canucks. They've been really, really bad, but not much to say about them. More saying the Edmonton Oilers, who are now 10-2 in their last 12 games and have rocketed up the standings. McDavid and especially has been in another dimension, as I've already talked about, and they are chasing the Leafs, and they're right there. And it should be an awesome game on Saturday when these two face off. We already had Toronto Montreal for kind of first in the division early in the season. Now we're getting Toronto Edmonton as the 1-2 matchup on Saturday. So it should be really, really fun to watch that one. And that once again transitions me into the Leafs Flames this week. The Flames, another team that's struggling. They beat a Leafs team who had a bunch of injuries on Monday night and then had one snatched from them. They were not the better team in either of those games, but they do get 3 points out of 4 somehow. They even should have had 4 if Willie hadn't pulled the win out of his wherever. But that was pretty hype. I was screaming for Willie
Oh
because
yeah.
he really needed that, and awesome, so awesome to have him score 2 in the span of the 3 minutes there. Uh, but yeah, the Flames continue to struggle. They lose to the Sens last night, 6-1, which is not a good look against an Ottawa team. So the Flames and the Canucks falling fast in the Canadian division.
Yeah, I mean, two teams that had pretty solid playoff performances going back last year, both making it to the second round, and neither really thus far even coming close to living up to that. Tale of two Riddichs, going from, I don't know, 70 something saves, being like the absolute difference maker. Like you said, I thought the Leafs were the better team in both games, but just struggling a little with the chemistry on the mixed lines, and Matthews just having an off night, not on Monday, not he had a couple shots that normally he just finishes that he couldn't, but very different. Dave Rittich, I mean, he was great on not giving up rebounds. He stoned us on every breakaway attempt he had and gave up goals on to both of those forms with a rebound and like a one-on-one against Connor Brown. And then, I mean, I just groaned when I saw that softie, that slap shot from behind the blue line. I mean, certainly was not expecting a week ago to have to go and play 3 games in like 4 nights. So I'm sure that takes its toll. But I mean, I was really interested in this matchup because both teams were coming up into it with some momentum. Like you said, Calgary coming out with 3 of 4 points against the Leafs, which was not expected. Guys like Monahan returning to the lineup, stepping up, and the Flames obviously surging after those 2 overtime shootout pullouts against the Canadiens. They now have gone to win 3 in a row, which I know winning 2 in a row when they did it off the last second goal against the Jets, and then that comeback against the Leafs was like the first time they'd won 2 in a row in like well over a calendar year. So I wonder when the last time they won 3 in a row was.
Yeah, I don't have that stat for you. I think you said Flames there. You're talking Senators, but uh, it, yeah, it's a team that it's fun to see them have success, and I don't mind them winning games when it's against the other competition in the division because it just helps us out. And obviously, like my girlfriend and her family are big Sens fans, so it's nice when they are content because it's less of a headache for me. But yeah, happy for the Sens because it's a team that's just it's a look at what we have season. Who's going to be the future moving forward, and if you can have a little bit of success in winning along the way, that always helps develop a strong culture. And I love that video of Stützle skating by the penalty box with Kachuk sitting in it, and Stützle can't keep a straight face because him and Brady are such good pals, and he's just laughing at him in the box. Brady's being a doofus. That's just they got some good chemistry between their kids, and should be a team to look at in the next couple of years when they have a little bit more draft capital and prospects moving up the system. But nice that they're having a little bit of a hot streak right now. Everyone can take their turn in the North Division, and it seems like they're getting theirs right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Canucks and the Flames would like to get in on some of that momentum, and the Canadiens would like to buy some of it back.
Yeah.
But the Leafs and Oilers, most consistent teams, I guess, so far. With, I think we can still say the Leafs most consistent. Knock on wood, they haven't dropped 2 games yet where they get 0 points. Hope to see that continue. The matchup against the Oilers, I think they've got the Canucks in there as well.
Yeah, I would also, the thing is like this, the team that's been really silent and kind of flying under the radar here is the Jets. They have 2 games in hand and they do sit at 12-6-1. So they could leapfrog the Oilers. Like they have the games in hand to do it. I think they probably are the second best team in the division, but because they've played less games, they're kind of just hanging out, waiting to make their move. But this is a team now with Pierre-Luc Dubois in the lineup, with Connor Hellebuck being a perennial Vezina candidate, a team that really is like positioned to make a run, and the Leafs haven't faced them a ton yet. So those will be some battles when those two teams finally go at it, because this Winnipeg Jets team, you can't count them out. They're definitely hanging in there for that second spot.
Yeah, I mean, Laine, Connor coming in and just filling the goal scorer role beautifully, not missing a beat really. I think they're one of the two teams that have, or I don't know if they have both wins over the, no, I think just one win over the Oilers, and so far splitting it.
All right. Well, we have the Leafs and Oilers on Saturday. Auston Matthews, a lot of talk about this wrist injury, which apparently has been plaguing him for the entire season, which is wild because he is on an incredible scoring pace, even despite this wrist injury. It worries me a little bit that he's playing through it. It's the reason why we have in our notes here that Keefe mixed up the overtime lines a little bit, went with Tavares and Marner for the opening faceoff because Matthews didn't want to take it. And then you had Matthews and Nylander go on afterwards. And just a sick goal from Willie. But yeah, so something to look at. Is there an All-Star break for this NHL season?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a bummer because we could use one for Matthews to get that wrist healed up.
I don't know if it'd be a break for Matthews.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he could pull the injury card maybe and get out of it. But yeah, I don't necessarily like that he's playing through the wrist injury. Something to keep track of as the season goes along, because you had Rasmus Anderson kind of going at him a little bit, knowing he had the bad wrist. So you might see teams start to do this, which worries me just a little bit.
Yeah, that hit into the boards from Anderson also, I think, is what aggravated it to the point where he didn't want to take that face off. So, I mean, if it's been all season and he's looked this good, you kind of wonder maybe it's just going to be fine. But yeah, the injuries really feel like the only thing slowing us down right now. And like we haven't even gotten a look at what this team can do at its full potential, which that's the game. You're going to have very few stretches where you have a 100% healthy lineup, but Matthews would be, I mean, is the biggest piece of this success right now, so would be the biggest loss. Although I was so happy to see Nylander get a dirty one, like on his knees, pushing for it. Like that's the exact kind of play the knock on Nylander is, that he doesn't do that enough, or just doesn't have the mentality to do that. So to see him do that, to get the confidence going, which is where the confidence needed to be to score that highlight hair goal, best of both worlds from Willie. Love to see it.
Yeah, so we got the Leafs Oilers afternoon game, Sens and Flames on Saturday, and then the late night game, the Canadiens and the Jets in the Canadian Division. So should be a good one to watch on Saturday. The last, go for it.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to move off of hockey, so if you have one last thing you want to say, then get to it.
The other, maybe we'll talk to this more on another segment, but the Detroit Red Wings and the Nashville Predators starting to emerge on the market as sellers. So it'll be interesting to see if any of the Canadian division teams are willing to make a move on that to try and bolster the roster with a couple of pieces. Quarantine, obviously a big barrier, but something to keep an eye out for. Is anyone going to pull the trigger on like a Bobby Ryan or a Matt Duchene or
Philip Forsberg? That's too good to be true, but it would be fun.